Alexander the Great, Cleopatra, even Ivan the Terrible were young when power found them. But compared to the rulers on this list, they were almost old. Here, children controlled empires, babies inherited crowns, and some became rulers just days after birth. But number one goes even further. According to an extraordinary ancient tradition, he was crowned before he was even born. At 20, Alexander the Great inherited Macedonia, and within years, built one of the largest empires the ancient world had ever seen. Cleopatra was only 18 when she became co-ruler of Egypt, beginning a reign that would bring her face to face with the power of Rome. And then there was Ivan the Terrible. He inherited the title of Grand Prince as a small child, grew up surrounded by brutal court rivalries, and later became Russia's first crowned Tsar. Henry VIII was also still a teenager when he inherited England, before transforming its religion, politics, and royal succession forever. These rulers were young enough to reshape history before most people today finish school. But from here, the ages keep falling. Soon, we won't be talking about teenagers at all. Now the rulers are getting younger, and the consequences no less dramatic. Genghis Khan rose from a violent struggle for survival to unite the Mongol tribes, creating an empire that would eventually become the largest contiguous land empire in history. Charles XII became King of Sweden at just 15, and soon found himself fighting some of Europe's greatest powers. And Frederick II was crowned King of Sicily while still a small child. Think 14 is young? We're only getting started. Because soon, children won't simply inherit kingdoms. Entire nations will be governed in their names. At 13, power was already falling into the hands of children. Akbar inherited the Mughal throne at just 13 and grew into one of India's most influential emperors. Baldwin IV became King of Jerusalem at the same age. Despite suffering from leprosy, he later defeated the forces of Saladin at Montgisar. In Rome, Gordian III was elevated to emperor during one of the empire's most chaotic political crises. But Edward V's story was far darker. King of England at only 12, he was sent to the Tower of London with his younger brother. Neither boy was ever seen again, and their fate remains one of history's great mysteries. And 12 is still nowhere near the youngest age on this list. From here, the rulers become children in every sense of the word. By 11, these children weren't preparing for power. They already had it. Murad IV became Ottoman Sultan at 11, initially under his mother's regency. Years later, he seized personal control and became notorious for his brutal authoritarian rule. Ptolemy XIII shared Egypt's throne with his sister Cleopatra, while powerful advisors fought for control around them. Richard II became King of England at 10, and, just 4 years later, faced the explosive Peasants' Revolt. Some childhood reigns ended even more brutally. Byzantine Emperor Constantine VI was eventually overthrown and blinded on the orders of his own mother. And then comes perhaps history's most famous boy king, Tutankhamun, pharaoh of Egypt at only 8 or 9. But we're about to go younger still. From this point, some rulers could barely understand what a crown even meant. Now we're entering an age where rulers depended almost entirely on the adults around them. Emperor Jian was placed on China's throne at just 8, becoming a pawn of powerful warlords as the Han dynasty collapsed around him. Pipi II became pharaoh of Egypt at around 6. Traditional chronologies credit him with an extraordinary reign of more than 90 years, although modern historians debate that figure. Simeon II also became Tsar of Bulgaria at 6, only to lose his throne 3 years later. Remarkably, Decades afterward, he returned to power, this time as an elected prime minister. And Henry IV inherited the German throne at 6 before growing into an emperor who would challenge the authority of the Pope himself. 6 years old and already carrying the weight of kingdoms, but the next rulers were younger still. Soon, even 6 will seem old. At 5 years old, Louis XV already wore the crown of France. But his great-grandfather's story was even more extraordinary. Louis XIV became king at just 4, then remained on the throne for more than 72 years, becoming the longest-reigning verified sovereign monarch in history. At only 3, Charles II inherited the vast Spanish Empire. Generations of Habsburg inbreeding had left him in poor health, and his death without an heir would help trigger the War of the Spanish Succession. Isabella II was also only 3 when she became Queen of Spain, and her succession helped ignite a civil war. Then came Puyi. At just 2 years old, he became China's last emperor. By 6, he had lost his throne, as more than 2,000 years of imperial rule came to an end. And now, we've reached the point where years themselves are about to disappear. The next rulers were barely old enough to walk. Now the ages become almost impossible to imagine. Thutmose III became pharaoh while still a tiny child, with Hatshepsut exercising power during his early reign. He would later emerge as one of ancient Egypt's greatest military conquerors. Then we leave years behind completely. Pomar III became king of Tahiti at only 17 months. James VI was crowned King of Scots at just 13 months after his mother, Mary, Queen of Scots, was forced to abdicate. Decades later, he would also inherit the English crown. But Henry VI was even younger. At only 9 months old, he inherited the throne of England after his father's death, and soon became the disputed King of France as well. 9 months old. 2 kingdoms claimed in his name. And yet, we're still not at the bottom of this list. The final rulers weren't measured in years. Some were barely measured in days. Now we're counting months, and then days. Ivan VI became Emperor of Russia at only 2 months, only to be deposed and spend most of his life imprisoned. Mary, Queen of Scots, inherited her crown at just 6 days old. John I of France and Alfonso XIII were kings from the moment they were born. But number 1 breaks every rule. According to ancient tradition, Shapur II of Persia was crowned before birth. The royal crown placed upon his mother's pregnant belly. A ruler before he had even entered the world.